So welcome to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel. My name is Connor, and I'm joined today by Don Heng. Don, how are you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and obviously, right? People know you as an actor, and that could be quite a precarious industry to go into. I can't imagine there's many parents who are saying, go off and potentially not be employed for months or years at a time, right? But what would make someone, or in your case, in this case, you pursue that as a career? Like, was there a passion, or like, how did you wind up going into acting?
Yeah, I mean, I did it throughout high school. I think that's my first taste of it, and
Mm,
just really enjoying it. Um, and I've come out and like come right on and said this many times before, where I felt like I got attracted to it for the wrong reasons. Like I
right.
like the applause, and I like making people laugh, which isn't a bad reason, I guess, making people laugh. But I did crave that egotistical like reception from the audience kind of thing. But I didn't full on pursue acting professionally straight out of high school. Like I wanted to, but I didn't know how to get into it. But I kind of, 3 years into my university degree in poli sci and history, I just thought I have to give this thing a try. And so I kind of just looked up on the internet and found this course to where they would record an audition for you and then send it to agents, and then you would meet with agents. And then at the same time, I enrolled myself into acting class, and I think acting class was where I really fell in love with acting, so to speak. Like the
Mm,
whole methods of really taking your life experiences and showing that through screen, and in particular finding like the bad moments in your life, and being able to take that and apply it as a career. I thought was just kind
mm,
of the epitome of taking lemons in your life and making lemonade, and that's
yeah.
what really drew me to it, because it no longer was about that egotistical reception. Because auditioning and getting rejected, I didn't book my first gig until like 3 years in. Like it was three
Right.
years of
Right.
auditioning before I booked my
Yeah.
first thing. So by then I already knew this was not an easy ride.
Mm,
I do want to say though, my parents were very different,
sure.
particularly for Chinese parents. Like they were on board. My dad
Mm,
in particular was like, "Yeah, do it, just go for it." My
that's
mom, on the other
great.
hand, was like, "Yeah, it was great. It was very like, I mean, amongst my peers who are Asian, I don't know many parents who were that supportive. Some of them
Right.
even hide their careers from their parents, even after they've kind of made it. They kind of just don't
Mm.
tell their parents anything. And yeah, so I've been really fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, and just from the people that I've interviewed or spoken to, there's quite a high number of them who kind of, and it's a bit different than what you're saying, but they kind of just almost stumbled into it, like they have kind of came across an opportunity, took it, and then fell into acting as a career. Like, are there a lot of people you've come across who are like that, or do you think people are mostly intentional, like they're kind of very direct in wanting to do this professionally?
Yeah, I think there's a huge mixed bag of that. I've certainly met a
Mm,
lot of people who you say they stumbled into it, whether they were, they're like a construction worker and then they met a friend who's just like, "Oh, you're a construction worker. I got this small part." And
mm,
then you do the small part and you're like, "That's kind of cool. I made a ton of money doing this one day. Should I just continue doing it as a side?" And then, they happen to have it and be really charismatic and they just know how to act, I guess. And they just
mm.
gain their success that way. Yeah, I've heard of those stories. I've heard of people who are like me and um, grew up watching movies and TVs and been really enthralled by it and wanting to enroll themselves into acting classes and start from the ground up. Yeah, there's a mixed
Mm.
bag.
Absolutely, yeah. And I remember a few years ago, I read a book by, uh, we'll say an actress who's in a very well-known sitcom. I won't go into, any more detail, but and she was kind of talking about how when you're kind of starting out, like any kind of credit is like a huge deal, even if it's like a one line. Your whole family sitting around the TV, kind of waiting for that one line. So, like from your perspective, what does like being a working actor mean? Like, kind of, what does that mean to you?
Um, yeah, there's a lot of actors who I think they don't watch their own work. Like, I mean, even really well-known actors, they don't like watching their own work. I
Mm,
actually enjoy it. I do think it's fun, and my parents, my family get a kick out of it. So we definitely sit down and watch it. In fact, to add to your story, I would say that before I started acting, I did extra work, so background, where I would
mm,
walk in the background, as two actors are talking, I had to walk through in the foreground or background.
sure.
And I'd sit down with my family and we'd find those moments and be like, oh, that's me right there
Mm.
behind the back. So we can get a kick out of it. I definitely, yeah, we get excited about watching stuff that I have.
Absolutely. And I suppose obviously like fast forwarding from the start of your career to like now, like relatively speaking, I know you're in an upcoming episode of Two Sentence Horror Stories on the CW. And I know like obviously that being an anthology, you've only got like one episode to really tell a story. And you've been in that position before where you've been like a one episode guest star, but do you find that difficult to kind of tell a character's beginning, middle, and end in such a short space of time?
I would say that initially when I got the role, I did find it daunting. And what
Mm,
is more particularly daunting about this one was not just the amount of not just the size of the role and how prevalent he is in the whole episode, but mostly because a lot of the episode was me interacting not opposite an actor. And so I
mm,
found that daunting. Like I was worried and a little bit scared, but the whole experience itself was I think went better than I anticipated.
mm.
I liked working with our director a lot, who is also the creator of the show. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I was worrying about things that didn't end up being a factor. So
Mm.
yeah, it wasn't too much different than working on any of the other shows I've worked on.
For sure.
Yeah.
And obviously, like as of when we're having this conversation, the episode isn't out yet. So I was wondering what you might be able to say about it, before it's actually released.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, is like an anthological series. The way I like to personally describe it
Mm.
is like it's goosebumps for adults. So each
Right.
episode is just a half-hour episode. It's a new story. It's a new cast. It dabbles in the paranormal and the mystery, ghosts, monsters, those kind of things. And
Mm.
in our story, which is the premiere is this Sunday. It's a double episode. So we're in the second episode, and it's called Plant Life. And I
Mm.
play a character named Christian, who is very obsessed with his work, really relies on technology for his work. His best friend is probably his virtual assistant that he uses, sort of like an Alexa.
Mm.
And he's dating this guy named Ben, who they have a great relationship, but it's often hindered by his obsession with his work. And on their third year anniversary, his boyfriend Ben gifts him this mysterious plant. And yeah, things happen after that with the plant that are unexpected.
Mm. Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say, I guess, without giving away everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I bet people who are watching this after the fact, after the episodes are probably kind of saying like, "Oh, that was a great tease. I get what he's talking about." But obviously, right now, it's just okay. We'll wait and see what happens. I think for sure. And I know, right? You've been on the CW before. You did The Flash a few years ago, and just being on a show for a network, kind of. I mean, not saying like it would directly kind of lead to another show, but like just being on the network before help in your favor when you're trying to book other roles.
I would imagine so, but I don't know
Mm,
personally. I haven't
right.
gotten to that part where they're like, "Oh, we love you in this. Here's a part." I still audition every role that
Sure.
I did get. Like I've worked on the CW, yeah, quite a number of times, I guess,
Mm,
probably 4 or 5 times. But there
yeah.
hasn't been that time where I felt like one directly led to the next job. I mean, indirectly, I'm sure it factors in. I'm sure, yeah, it can only work in your favor, is what I think. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I just figured it'd be like the same people right at the top. And if someone's proved to be reliable, it makes sense that they were available again to bring them on if they do a good job. I mean, that's what I would assume, but who knows, right?
Who knows? That's what I would assume too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know like another upcoming project of yours is a feature film called Sight with Greg Kinnear and Terry Chen. And like, how would you describe your character in this film and like the role they play in the film?
Yeah, so Sight is a biographical film. It's based on the life of probably the world's most renowned eye surgeon. His name is Dr. Ming Wong, and
Right.
he's performed like thousands, probably tens of thousands of surgeries throughout his life and helped restore sight to people,
Mm.
including Dolly Parton. He
Oh,
also
okay.
performed surgery on her. So the story is about his childhood. Well, it flashes back between his present day and also the past when he grew up in 1960s and 1970s China,
Mm.
and kind of living in that an uncertain world where they didn't know what the new government meant and what changes were going to happen. So it's kind of volatile situation. And I play his father, his young father, who kind of guided him through that tumultuous period, and gave him the opportunities to come to America and find the American dream. And yeah, so the story, Terry Chen plays Dr. Ming Wong in present day. Greg Kinnear is his best friend, and he's trying to develop these new methods for helping people restore sight. And it kind of just follows his path through that in present day, but also flashes back to when he was a child, and how his father kind of had that influence on him.
So then, like, how much research, if any, like, did you do of the period that your character's set in?
I did some research, but it was also a period where I studied heavily in history. Like I said, when I was doing my poli-sci history degree, I did have a focus on Chinese history. And so it was a period that I was very aware of. And yeah, I mean, I watched a handful of movies to kind of like get the tone of what the director really wanted. But also, yeah, it was different for me because although I am ethnically Chinese, I grew up and I was born and raised in Canada. And so there's a very, very different way of raising your parents. Raising your children for parents. And this whole sense of tough love, I feel I really wanted to bring to the character, Hollywood would really just show it to be, the father is really loving to the son and wants to play with him all the time. But it really, for me, that was not realistic for a father in that period in China to be so loving towards children. Did he love his children? Like, absolutely. But it was a thing to not show your love, It was really just shown through opportunities that you give and your sacrifice and whatnot, but you never really had this like loving relationship with your son. So that was important for me to try and to kind of find that balance, to really love my child and want to show him love, but not do it for his sake.
Yeah. And I know the film, like itself, it sounds very unique, kind of from what you're saying, but like, what do you think makes it stand out compared to like maybe other films that might be in a similar genre? Like, what do you think makes it different?
Yeah, I don't think there has been a film in Hollywood that really focuses on a Chinese protagonist. So I think that's what sets it apart most. As a whole, I feel like we've been given more and more opportunities in the last couple of years to tell our stories, and this certainly adds to the pile. And I think that we're really witnessing one of the biggest changes for our generation, and generations past, actually, for Asian Americans, Asian Canadians who want to have their story told. And this is really it's one of those films who are really pushing the forefront of that, I would say.
Yeah, it honestly sounds like really interesting, and like the whole kind of backdrop of the the history and everything. But where can people actually see the film when it's out?
When can they see it, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually don't know the exact release date. All I've been told last was that it would be released in the second quarter of this year. So to me, that means April, May, June, July, something like that.
Yeah. And I know, obviously, as well as that, you're also in American Dreamer, which is another film, and that cast includes Peter Dinklage, Matt Dillon, Danny Glover, which even just reading that, I'm like, wow, that's talent, like a lot of big names there. But like, were you intimidated with that call sheet, with that cast list at all?
So when I worked on the movie, my part is I just have a supporting role in it. I have all my scenes with Peter Dinklage though, and
nice.
So when I got the role, I knew he was in it. On a call sheet, I saw him, and I knew all my scenes were with him. And yeah, I had just finished watching all of Game of Thrones, so and he's most people's favorite character, I would say, and he certainly was mine. So yeah, I was pretty excited to work on that. And I didn't know that like Matt Dillon and Danny Glover were in it until after I finished. So they weren't even announced until after then. And so I didn't even get to meet them or anything, but certainly it's I don't know, it's an honor to be part of such a call sheet like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think acting is kind of unique in that way, where like technically you could say you've worked with Danny Glover if you didn't have any scenes with him, or with Matt Dillon. I mean, would you say that, or would you just say we're in the same film, we just didn't have any scenes, rather than I worked with them? Like, would you have a preference of which way to say it?
Yeah, I would. I don't think I would say I worked with them unless I actually
Right.
worked with them. Yeah. Mhm.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And yeah, I know another film you were in, and it's actually a couple of years back, but The Art of Racing in the Rain, and which
Mm,
had Milo Ventimiglia, who actually just was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame
mm.
just recently. But I was wondering if you could maybe discuss your time working on that film.
Yeah, it was great. I will say that out of every celebrity I've ever met, he is the nicest one I've ever met. And
Okay.
I mean, definitely one of the nicest as far as like his as far as his celebrity and whatnot.
Mm,
I thought he was just the nicest. Like he's every bit the persona that you see in like This Is Us or whatever. You know, well,
yeah.
not Gilmore Girls because apparently he's a bit of a dick in
Yeah.
Gilmore Girls. But yeah, he was a very very nice guy, and my wife like has a crush on him. My cousin has a crush on him, and it
Right.
was cool to be able to tell all these people that hey, I just worked with Milo Ventimiglia.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else you can add to that. He was just a great person to work with.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm actually, really happy to hear that. It's really encouraging. He's one of those people, like you say, where he kind of has the rep of being like a really great guy, really upstanding guy, and that'd been awful if he just said, "Oh yeah, he was horrible," hated him, like what a fraud. But yeah, that's really a big relief that he is as sincere and as great as people seem to say he is, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It is funny because in the role, I got to say, I will look back at my performance and I don't love it
Right.
because I felt like the character really is supposed to be a douchebag, but I don't know. It was earlier in my career and I didn't want to play him like a D bag, even though I
Mm,
think he should have been. And I know I even had a conversation with Milo on set where he was trying to encourage me and he was just like, hey, don't worry about it. Like I play douchebags all the time. Like that's you're just playing that guy. So just like just let loose and just
mm.
go for it, man. It's cool. It doesn't mean like you're a shitty person or whatever. So that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually forgot to ask about American Dreamer, but where can people see that when that film's out?
I also don't know. I'm guessing it's around
Right.
the same time, second quarter of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess
Mhm.
absolutely to anyone watching, make sure to look out for both, and I'm sure you're great in both of them. I mean, as you say, neither are out, but and fingers crossed they do well when they are out.
Same here. I haven't seen any of it of either film, so I'm just hoping it's good. I hope it's yeah, I hope people enjoy it. That's really all I can ask for.
Yeah, and just to finish off with my last question, and not to drop too big of like a difficult question at the end, but we're just into 2022, and what would you like to accomplish with the rest of this year? That's still to
Ooh.
come.
Um I don't know. I guess just to build upon successful last year and just hopefully work on projects that I enjoy working on really. You
Mm,
know, yeah, just being things that are that people watch that you know work with characters that I find interesting and that other people find interesting too. That's it's pretty generalized, sorry, but
oh no, I mean, it's a great answer for sure, and obviously, again, like best of luck with the films and wherever else you've got. Obviously, yeah, two sentence horror stories and just everything you've got coming up. And thanks again for taking the time. All the best. Take care and stay safe.
thanks a lot, man. You too. Yeah, thanks for having me.